Good day, Evan Snowman here again for Umachleko, Making a Difference. We're looking today at our fourth fourth topic in the fourth chapter in the financial maths topic, looking at the idea of outstanding balance. So on a previous occasion, we talked about how the idea was that if I had if I looked at the idea of the two graphs of the situation where I was buying a product, let's say a house or whatever it might be, and I bought this product at value P, it was going to grow under the influence of A equals P1 plus I to the power of N. On the other hand, the investment that my repayments were going to grow by this jagged line, which is due to the repayments, and this thing would grow under the influence of FV equals X1 plus I to the power of N minus 1 all over I. And the key thought we had was, well, at this point of connection, this would be in line with N. So, for example, if it was buying a house, it might be 20 years. If it was buying a car, it might be 5 years, whatever the case might be. But this would be the point where A equals FV. Now, what I wanted to look at today is what actually does this part of the graph look like? Okay, and so if we looked at that part of the graph, okay, which would be therefore this picture, okay, and we looked at it in terms of the same values we've got. Just we'd be purchasing the thing at for the value P, and we know that it's going to take N years to pay it off. Okay, so we know it's going to take N years to pay it off. Then what we actually have here is a graph that does something along the lines of that. Okay, it's very flat initially, and then it nosedives down. Now, initially, when we make a payment, let's say we're repaying 5,000 rand on a car. Perhaps 4,500 rand of that money is going to service the capital that we still owe the company, and only 500 rand, only 500 rand addresses the actual capital, whereas 4,500 rand is going to pay off the interest. Now, because we owe a lot, the interest is a lot. Therefore, the portion of our payment that's going to service the interest is more significant. As we move further down, we now owe less, and therefore less of our monthly payment goes to interest, and so more of it goes to servicing capital, and therefore the repayments dies off like this. So this graph actually shows how much money we still owe the bank, what is referred to as the outstanding balance. Okay. Now, for me, I always think of it as follows, and I know there are other ways to see it, but I always think of it as follows. At this distance here, okay, at this distance here, okay, is equal to, that the outstanding balance at any one point is equal to the A value at that N value minus the F value at that N value. Not necessarily at the end, sorry, so if that's not really clear, but at whatever particular N value we are talking about over here. Okay, so I know there are other ways to do it. There is a way that uses a present value, but I'm not going to go through it with you because I don't think it makes sense, and so we're going to stick with this version of the formula. Okay, so for me, outstanding balance is this idea. The other key idea, which we want to look at here, is what happens to our outstanding balance if we don't make a payment. So let's have a look at this idea and see what happens when we don't make a payment. So what I want to do quickly is I want to copy this page. And I want to see what happens here to this picture if we don't make a payment. So, okay, so what we're going to look at here now is we're going to try to remove some stuff. We're going to take some of these things away. Okay, and we're going to look at what happens here to the outstanding balance if we miss a payment. Okay, I'll pull that in again in a moment's time. So, if we miss a payment, well, remember that what's happening here is that this blue graph is still growing to grow according to, okay, so that is still the graph of A over there. However, if we miss a payment or miss a couple of payments, then what happens is that the amount of money that we actually are saving doesn't actually increase. Okay, and so the gap here increases more or widens. And now, if we were to keep the same repayments, so if we kept the same repayments, okay, if we kept the same repayments, it would take longer. Or alternatively, we would have to find a way to actually make a bigger repayment if we wanted to end at the same point, or an increased payment to end on time. So again, what we're looking at is our function would be, well, we owe the bank, we owe the bank, we are decreasing. Okay. Unfortunately, because we haven't made a payment, what we owe them actually starts growing. But remember, it grows under the influence of A. So the growth is exponential. We then will either make the same repayments, okay? So it's either the same repayments and ending later, or it will be increased repayments to end on time. Okay, so we need to think about what we want here, okay? Again, we need to think as to what's going to happen here. So what we've got here is a couple of exam questions. And so let's have a look at and see what they say. So a man wants to start a bakery. This is a question we looked at last week or in the previous session, the part A of it. And the answer to that part A was that X would equal the monthly repayment would be 4,159 Rand 55 cents. So I've got that answer here. Okay. What is the outstanding balance after 7 years? So again, okay, I'm suggesting that OB7 equals A of 7 minus FV of 7. Okay, so it would be what? Well, his loan was 301 Rand, 301,000 Rand, 964 Rand, times by 1 plus 11% over 12 to the power of 84. Okay, remember that, sorry, 7 years. So 7 years is the equivalent of 84 months. So that is why there's an 84 over there. It's a bit untidy, so let me just quickly go and rewrite that 4 a bit better. Okay, cool. So 84 minus what he has repaid. And he's repaid an amount of 4,159 Rand 55 cents times 1 plus this 11% monthly to the power of 84 minus 1 all over 11% over 12. Now, again, that's where all the marks are. All the marks are again in that formula. There's only really one mark for, so let's say it would be there and there. That would be 2 of the 3 marks. Only one of the 3 marks is for using the calculator. Okay, so again, we can take out the calculator and let's see if you agree with me. Okay, so 301,964 brackets 1 plus 11 shift percent divided by 12 minus 4,159,415,955 times brackets 1 plus 11 shift percent divided by 12 to the power of 84 minus 1 close brackets divided by 11 shift percent divided by 12 equals, I'm getting an answer of 281,102. So again, it's crazy to think that after 7 years, he's only paid about 80,000 off. But over the next 3 years, he'll pay the rest of this. He'll pay the rest of this amount off. Okay, so again, quite crazy that this is what's happening. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Again, these get a little bit repetitive. Well, this one is roughly the same as the previous one. Again, I want to have a look at this. So again, we are looking at the idea of a sum that we looked at previously, where the answer was 7,376 rand 50. Okay, he's paying for home loan. Okay, so again, just again to make sense of it. Okay, the home loan was 850,000 rand, 850,000 rand. Okay, which is increasing. Okay, was granted 12 years ago and was going to be repaid over a period of 20 years. So we know that that is, sorry about the bump, that is what was meant to happen. It was meant to be repaid over 20 years. We are talking about here what's happening after 12 years. Okay, they tell us that the interest rate is 8%, 8.5% per annum. They determine the outstanding balance immediately after the 144th payment, i.e. after 12 years. So what is that outstanding balance? Okay, so we are saying OB12 equals the A value of 12 minus the F value of 12. Okay, and the A value at 12 is equal to 850,000. Okay, and let's just do this separately this time round, times 1 plus 8.5% over 12 to the power of 144. So let's have a look what that would be. So 850,000 times 1 plus, sorry, I need to put in brackets there, times brackets 1 plus 8.5 shift percent divided by 12, close brackets to the power of 144. So believe it or not, the value of the house that he's repaying by now would be 2,348,755.33 cents. Okay, the amount that he's saved up would be the 7,000 rand that he has put away every month. So the 7,000 rand, that 7,300 rand that he's put away every month, times 1 plus 8.5% over 12 to the power of 144 minus 1 all over 8.5% over 12. Okay, so what would that be? 7376.50 times brackets 1 plus 8.5% divided by 12 to the power of 144 minus 1 close brackets divided by 8.5 shift percent divided by 12 equals 1,836,000, 1,836,219, and 2 cents. So when I do that and I take this, that sum 234,8755.33, I get an answer of, believe it or not, he only owes 512,536.31. Again, quite amazing to think that after 12 years, okay, having bought something for 850,000, he still owes 512,000. Okay, so there's a lot of thoughts we can do there. One of the suggestions that people have in the real world is to just pay back a little bit more than you need to. So, for example, if in the real world you paid back 100 Rand extra, or even if it's just 150 Rand extra, okay, because that money is not servicing interest and it's now servicing capital, in other words, it's going straight towards repaying the house and not actually paying off interest, you would actually be able to pay off this house significantly more quickly, possibly even 2 years more quickly. So again, there are ways to, once one realizes how big or how much of your money initially is going towards paying off interest and not going off towards paying the house, you realize that actually perhaps in your early days, in your younger days, you might want to be paying a little bit extra if you can to service the capital and not be paying off the interest. That has a massive impact upon the repayments of duration of your loan. Okay, also, if you were to have a investment, it would be massive. Okay, so again, let's look at another question quickly. So again, a slightly different question. Okay, so they're telling us that the bank must be paid over 20 years, so we can't take longer to repay it. Okay, it must be 20 years. 10 months ago, she got a loan of 800,000. Okay, you got monthly payments of that amount starting 1 month after the loan was granted. Okay, how much did Jane owe immediately after making her sixth payment? Okay, so at this point in time, her outstanding balance after 6 months would be the value of the rental, okay, the value of the rental of the loan times 1 plus the interest rate 10.5%, 10.25%, compounded monthly, okay, done for 6 months, okay, and that would equal minus the repayments, and that tells us she's repaying 7,853 Rand 15 cents times the future value formula, so it's 1 plus 10.25% over 12 to the power of 6 minus 1 all over 10.25% over 12. So again, we can do the sum as two separate pieces. 800,000 times brackets 1 plus 10.25% divided by 12, close brackets to the power of 6 equals. So in these 6 months, the value of her house has already grown to 841,885 Rand and a couple of cents, 56 cents. Her repayments, well, thank goodness there's a bit of interest on it, but she's paid about 50,000 Rand back. So let's have a look. 7853.15 times brackets 1 plus 10.25 50% divided by 12. Really, as you get used to this chapter, you get more and more familiar with where the buttons are on your calculator, and that is a good thing. And when we do that, we now get an answer of, like I said, roughly 50,000. Okay, so 48,136.62, and so um, she now has only paid off. She now owes a total value of 793,748. 748.94. And so it's kind of, it might strike you that, perhaps after 6 months, if she's only paid 6,000 Rand, then actually only about 1,000 Rand of her repayment is going to paying off the actual loan, whereas the other 6,800 rand is at this point in time still paying off interest every month. So she's only gained about 7,000 rand if you think about it. Okay, 6,200 rand. So she's only lost 6,250 rand in 6 months. Okay, so that's quite frightening. Okay, therefore the other 42,000 rand, or the other, yeah, roughly the other 42,000 rand has paid off interest, and that is quite significant. Okay, so now in 6.2.1 we need to think what happens. Okay, and again it's worth 5 marks, so it's definitely worth taking the time to think about it. Okay, so as we said before, we think about it. Okay, what happens now is the price of the house keeps increasing. What happens is she misses some payments, and so she's still going to end up at the same 20-year time slot. She needs to pay more money to get to that same place. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so for 3 months, this increases. So the outstanding balance that she has, so after 9 months, she will owe, what will she owe? Well, again, it's a single thing, so it's going to grow according to one of the A formulas. So A equals 793,748.94 times 1 plus 10.25% over 12 to the power of 3. So answer times brackets 1 plus 10.25 shift percent divided by 12 power of, sorry, close brackets to the power of 3. So she now is already back to owing over 800,000 rand. So she's back to owing 814,000 rand, 262 and 99 cents. Now, if she was taking the full 20 years, so 240 months to repay this, she was paying back 7,800 rand per month. But now, due to the fact that we already have wasted 9 months, okay, therefore, we now know she has to repay this okay, in only 231 repayments. Okay, so unfortunately, she now has to repay this total amount in 231 payments. This is the future value. Sorry, this is the present value formula. So this is what it currently is worth. So therefore, this is going to be our PV. Okay, and we go plug it into our formula. And so what we get here is again, we've got all our values. So what we're going to get is PV 814,262 rand 99 equals X times 1 minus 1 plus 10.25% over 12 to the power of minus 231 all over 10.25% over 12. So times by 10.25% divided by 12 equals divided by brackets 1 minus brackets 1 plus 10.25 shift percent close brackets to the power of minus 231 close brackets equals, and we're getting an answer of a bit more than that. Okay, so again, I've done something silly again in my calculator, so again, I'm being a bit silly. So what have I done wrong? Okay, so 814,262 rand and 99 cents times by 10.25% divided by 12. Okay, and this is going to be divided by brackets 1 minus brackets 1 plus 10.25 shift percent divided by 12 to the power of minus 231. And I'm getting an answer this time. I must have made a typo in the previous one. Therefore, 8,089 Rand and 20 cents equals X. Okay, so again, when we do our work and we get an answer, we know that therefore this answer should be bigger than, if we think about it, needs, because she got less time to repay the amount of money. The fact this answer has to be bigger than 7,800 Rand. If it's not bigger than 7,853 Rand, then we must have made a mistake somewhere along the line, and we should go back and check our work. Okay, so this is as far as we need to go for the matric syllabus of financial maths. Again, I hope you enjoyed the last 4 lectures. All the best to you.